As always, lots to cover on the Israel-Hamas war front. I do want to get to the latest on the war. I also want to speak a little more in depth about what they touched on at the end of that segment there, the pier, what's going to happen with the pier next, this very expensive project that we have been talking about. Let's pull up some video of the pier in question, and let's give you a little bit of context before we bring in Sal Mercogliano. The temporary pier constructed by the U.S. military to transport aid into Gaza did break apart, and it sustained damage and heavy seas this week. It marks a pretty extensive blow to the American-led effort to create a maritime corridor for humanitarian supplies into the war-torn enclave. It was operational for just less than 2 weeks. Let's break this down with maritime expert Sal Mercogliano. Sal, as always, good to see you. I want to get right into how exactly a $300+ million project breaks apart. How did this happen so quickly?
Well, this system that the military uses, called Joint Logistics Over the Shore, is designed to operate in a very set sea condition, basically less than 3-foot seas, less than 10 knots of wind. And typically you would set this up actually inside a sheltered harbor or some secluded area, not out in the middle of the Mediterranean as where this is set up. This setup is taking place out in the Mediterranean. It's really susceptible to any winds and damages that can happen to it. Plus, you're really hamstringing the personnel there because they're not allowed to put their boots on the beach. And that means that you would typically be able to bring vessels directly onto the beach and offload them, but they can't do that. So they have to operate from the pier. And the concept that they didn't have a plan B so that when the weather rose up really concerns me a bit.
So this brings me to, and I've been following you on Twitter, so I'll pull up this tweet. As I mentioned at the top, the pier only began operating in the past 2 weeks. It's already had 3 U.S. service members injured. It's had 4 vessels beached due to heavy seas. I follow you on Twitter, and I saw this. So I know you have some thoughts about how this operation went down and what could have been done better, possibly. What, in your opinion, could have been done better?
Well, they're banking everything on being able to flow the cargo over the pier. And, you know, what we've seen just last year in an exercise down in Australia, they weren't able to land this pier because of the same situation.
No.
The fact that the weather was too tough. And so they had to adopt other methods to do it. They were landing logistics over the shore through a variety of different watercraft. But the rules put on them by the administration really prevented them from using that as an option. And they should have been prepared for a circumstance like this. While the summer months are great in the Mediterranean, you don't get a lot of rough weather there, there are the chances for it to happening. And it seemed like they were all banking on plan A without much plan B in their pockets should something go wrong.
So one more thing to hit. I want to pull up another tweet. So the Pentagon says the fixes will take at least over a week, and then the pier will need to be anchored back into the beach in Gaza. As you've said, the weather this past Friday appears to have exceeded the limits of the pier. My question is, will the weather still present a threat to this thing once it's actually back in place?
Well, I mean, if you look at that measurements, I mean, it wasn't a lot of weather. I know that the Defense Department made a point of making the fact that this was a series of weather systems that came together. We're talking about 5-foot swells vice 3-foot swells. So it really wasn't that big of a difference in the weather. And so there is a good chance that this system may break down again. Again, one of the things I keep hopping on here with the military is what are they doing to prepare for this? Did they not have a weather diversion plan? Were they not ready to take this apart? Now, in their defense, they made sure they got the personnel off. There was no personnel injuries here. Better to lose the craft and the pier than to risk anyone. However, this is a very dangerous operation when you get into the weather. And the other key thing here is they haven't moved a lot of cargo. I know we keep hearing that number of 2 million pounds, 1,000 tons, but that's equivalent to about 50 containers of cargo. That is not a lot of throughput through this system so far. And so if they want to deliver aid, they really have got to come up with a good plan that they can move cargo efficiently, something that they haven't been able to do yet.
Is a seaport the most efficient way to do this?
Oh, coming into a seaport is the most efficient way. Using the port of Ashdod, either in Israel or going down to Egypt to do it, would be the most efficient way. But again, you have the issues with getting across the border here. You can move a lot of cargo through a JLOTS operation. You can actually move quite a bit. The problem is you have to have it set up on shore. The military is only controlling the throughput from the ocean side. Everything else is being controlled by Israel and other forces on the beach, and that creates a logjam. It's not a free flow of cargo. When militaries typically do this operation, they control the cargo coming over the water, over the bridge, onto the pier, and in the distribution on land. They're not doing that here, and I think that's one of the big problems that they're having.
So you're tracking the pier in real time, I know. Where is it? Where does it sit as of tonight?
Well, part of it is still actually beached off of Gaza. The part that broke away, along with the batch of the watercraft, have been taken over to Ashdod. And what they're going to have to do is probably change out some sections of this causeway. This causeway section is kind of like Lego blocks. They will be changing out pieces that haven't broken or sheared away. They'll have to inspect sections to make sure that they still have their buoyancy. And then what they'll do is bring it back out to the section where they have it on the shore, reconnect it, and then begin the flow of cargo once again.
Lego blocks, something you're no stranger to, Sal, as is evident by the globe sitting next to you. Let's leave it there for now. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us as always.